Hey guys, welcome Hairbrain Nation. Sorry, Mr. Wayne Woodruff is not here today. He is in Italy. But I'm going to be doing the inside out for you guys. This is an image of the inside out. This was cut by Mark Hayes back in the early 90s. And this is probably one of the most popular contemporary classics, right? So it's from volume 1. So this definitely was, you know, I would say between 93 and 95, right? So somewhere right around there. Great approach to doing a graduated shape. Works a little bit backwards, a little bit inside out, in the sense that the start of the haircut really doesn't work with some of the principles set in the classics, right? Where you can see the graduation. It drops down into a one length through the front, which you would typically think to start this like a graduated bob, like a classic graduated bob. But this is actually started from the front hairline, which I'll show you guys very shortly in just a moment. So working from that front hairline into the higher graduation in the back. Now, one of the nice things about that is that, you know, you create a slightly more rounded shape. So remember, everything always makes a difference. Right? So even though you're getting the shape one length in front, higher graduation in the back, by starting in a different area, it's going to give a slightly different result. So the slightly different result is a rounder form of graduation, where, like I said, true graduated bob drops down quite severe. This works through a little bit more fluently. Actually, really beautiful flow to the shape. Beautiful haircut. Beautiful approach by Mark. So starting out, we start out in the front hairline, and the section...
Do you usually start on the heavy side?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and what that does is it just makes it a little bit easier to blend when you bring the light side into the heavy side.
Cool.
Now, the...
You're getting shout-outs. Tristan just joined.
Excellent.
Haircraft says hello.
Thanks, everyone, for coming to support.
Yeah, thanks for sharing the video. There's people sharing, so really appreciate that.
How to get my clip. So the first section is taken on more of a diagonal, right? So from the parting down to the front hairline. And the reason this is because the elevation starts out quite low. So if you notice, I'm not holding my hand parallel to the section. I'm holding my hand much flatter. And what that does is it creates a one length line in the front, and then the graduation will graduate from that point into the back. All right, so...
What's up, Joe? Joe Profita says, hey.
And then there's the line.
What's up, Branimir?
So, coming through quite square. Working just with a very slight elevation. And you can see, keeping that front hairline one length, and then the graduation, again, is going to work from that point towards the back. Now, the sections, as I work back, start to get more curved. Right? So that second one now goes all the way through to the back hairline. Right? So it's a continuous sectioning, which gives, I think, really the fluidity of the shape of the haircut. You know, and I can just remember, you know, seeing this haircut, and because I was trained with the classics, you know, the approach to this was just really mind-blowing. And then I can remember, you know, a lot of the students back at the Sassoon Academy and the apprentices, you know, just really, you know, loving this shape, and again, just being blown away by, you know, the result and the approach. So again, combing the hair off to the side, following the guideline, and then just starting to lift slightly higher. And that'll continue through each section. Right, so the elevation is a continuous elevation. I started about a finger's width off, right? And then the progression is going to lift up and then follow through into a layering. Right, so we go from a graduated angle into more of a layered angle. Now, this is a really key area.
Sid Sotung just joined.
Hey, Sid, how's it going, man? Good timing. I had a breath. I could say hello. Right? So this is a really crucial area, the transition from the ear to the bottom hairline. Now, if I follow that, what's going to happen is I'm going to get a lower graduation through the back. So what I need to do is to pull that hair back away from the ear, just like I did in the front hairline, and then come in tighter into the nape. And you'll see, again, I'm right about a finger's elevation, right? So you're pulling away from the front to maintain the length in through the front. You take that back square to the ear, and then from the ear, I'm pulling back, and then coming into the bottom hairline. Now, you can see the hairlines on the doll head are quite low, so it does have a little bit of dip, but what I'll do is I'll freehand that up and flatten that out a little bit.
Branimir is asking, is this considered a square haircut?
Whew. It's borderline, man. When you look at the graduation's a little bit higher in the back, so it has an element of triangular, and then it does also have a certain element of squareness, so I can see, where that's coming from. It's really a combination. It's like it's a mixture of the three, really. When you start to think about, shapes in general, there's only, one pure square, one pure triangle, one pure circle, and then everything else is kind of an adaptation of it. I kind of like to explain it when I teach like color. You think about the three primary colors, right? You have red, you have blue, you have yellow. Yes, I do know my color theory, right? But how many times do you use those in their purest form, right? Very, very, very rarely. It's normally a mixture of, one or two, or not one, it can't be a mixture of one. It's a mixture of two or three of the colors to create the color that you're trying to achieve. It's the same thing with this. It has elements of squareness, it has elements of roundness, it has elements of the triangle to create a unique shape. So
a few people have asked what haircut you're doing.
Okay, so this is the Inside Out. This is one of the Vidal Sassoon contemporary classics. Came out in the early 90s. It is in Contemporary Classic Volume 1. It was cut by Mark Hayes, an amazing, amazing hair cutter, probably, one of the most technical hair cutters I've experienced, and, does beautiful suitabilities, beautiful shapes. And this was one that definitely was a fan favorite when I was working at the Sassoon Academy and training hairdressers from around the world. And then also, this was one of the haircuts that was required from our own staff to master before they were given a chair in one of the salons. So again, this goes back to, the training programs that transitioned from Sassoon in the 80s into the 90s.
Can you touch again on why you might start in the front with this haircut rather than just doing the same graduated bob that you've been?
It's a softer build-up, right? So the traditional graduated bob starts very high. Doesn't have to, okay, but it's an extreme drop, right? It's triangular. It's pure triangle. It's higher in the back, drops down to a one-length point in the front. So it's a very severe push forward, right? With this, you get an element of that triangular shape, but it's much more rounded through, right? So the shape itself, if my hand was doing, if all the hair was expanded out and my hand was just rubbing the edge of the hair, it would be like this, right?
Cool.
So you get a much more fluid approach to it.
Nice.
Because the approach is the approach of a classic round graduation.
Is that book still open to the picture?
Yeah. Let me see. See where we're at here. All right, so this is the finish with the color. Right, so just a beautiful, you can see how the graduation drops down. So it does have an element of triangular graduation, but again, much lighter, much more fluid. Really good for, a high density of hair. Right, so if you got someone with thick hair with a lot of movement to it, that a classic graduated bob might sit a bit bulky, this approach is really nice. And I just love Mark's placement. I'm leaving mine a little bit longer because the doll head, if I was to cut it up to here, it would be so high on this hairline, just proportionately wouldn't work out as good. So I'm a little bit lower to stay in line.
Cool, thank you.
With the doll head. And that's a good thing, Doll head suitability is very similar to client suitability. If I had a client with a really low hairline, I wouldn't cut my graduation starting up here, right? It's going to expose too much of the hairline. All right, so you can see how the sections are starting to really become a bit more curved now. They're not quite horizontal, but you can see in the back they're getting much flatter. So I'm following the curvature of the head shape. And I'm building up my weight in the back, my graduation. So you can see the elevation is now, substantially higher than where it was when I started. I started right out with my finger on the jawline.
Haircraft says you're amazing.
Thanks, Haircraft. All due to my training and, all of my art directors that really helped me understand how to control hair. Right, so you can see in the back again, much higher. Where I started out, section number 1 was right down on the skin. Now I'm out at, a much higher angle.
Nanette agrees that you're amazing.
Guys, you're making me blush. If you think I'm amazing, you should watch Gerard do this haircut. And it was kind of funny, a little bit of a history note. When all these haircuts came out, they started coming out when I was still in New York. So that was, I moved out here in '94. So they started coming out late '92, '93. And, I was working with Gerard at Sassoon on 5th Avenue at the time, working with Tracy. Very shortly after, we all moved out to LA, not at exactly the same time, but right around the same time. And we met some guy named DJ. And, we would sit and debate these haircuts for hours and hours and hours daily. And, just really, I think through those debates, just had to, really build a great understanding of how it all works.
Sarah is just thanking you for the information and saying that she loves Sassoon cuts. And NL Oakley is asking what are the scissors you're using?
All right, these are BMAC, and these are the Hairbrain edition. So these were developed by Hairbrain, and a special mold was made by BMAC. Great offset handle. These come in 5.5 and 6. Both sizes are really good. These are the 5.5 inch ones, but just really, they fit the hand really nice, really easy to maneuver.
Thank you.
All right, so we're ready for a transition now. Right, so you can see I'm taking this graduation onto the other side. Now, okay, so we start out diagonal, right? And then the diagonal section starts to flatten out to a more rounded horizontal. Now, just as I get above the curve of the head, it goes into a more vertical diagonal again, right? So it starts, I know this is tricky, guys. And you're like, what? So it starts here. That's my section, diagonal to the front hairline. It's brought down, cut my base. From there, the sections slowly become more horizontal diagonal. They get to the curvature of the head. So if you put the comb right here, just where the comb comes off the head, all right, Gerard does this funny thing. He goes 1, 2, 3, just where the comb comes off the head. Sorry, Gerard, I had to pick up on that one, right? So right from this point, it goes back to being more vertical diagonal, right? So I go from building, graduation, into more of, again, a layering approach. I use the term loosely because it's a combination, and I wouldn't say it's any one pure thing, right? So you see here.
Thank you guys very much for sharing. Sharing is caring.
Right. So now I'm using that guideline from my graduation, but now my elevation is higher. And I'm working that up and out. I don't want to round it completely through, so I do want to leave that weight on there. Right, so you can see it still all blends together. Right now, this is where that hand position comes in, Randy, that you were talking about. Mm-hmm. So if you notice in the book, Mark's hand position, the camera angle and the hand angle look quite awkward, but this is it here. And basically what it's doing is I'm standing behind the section, right? And I'm cutting over my knuckles, but I'm making sure that it blends into the bottom graduation. So by standing in this position, it gives me a, easy visibility of the guideline, and then allows me to comb it into the area, quite easily where it needs to be. It's also, what's kind of tricky, what I think encourages some of the roundness is that I'm combing the guideline into the section rather than combing the section into the guideline. Right? So again, it's inside out. It's not your typical approach. What that does, by combing my guideline into the new section, it's going to create a slightly lighter shape. If I was to comb this down, I'm more inclined to build weight. But because I'm combing it up, it's going to be removing slightly more weight. So I get this fluidity within the haircut.
What would you say to Corentin? He's asking, for better balance, would you work back and forth side to side? Would that be more difficult, or would that help? Or?
Well, on this haircut, because it's a side parting, it would be quite difficult. If I was doing a center parting, and I was doing the same on both sides, yeah, you could jump back and forth. I used to teach the orbit that way, right? For people who were struggling with getting the balance just right, it would be like one section on this side, one section on this side. And then
these sides aren't the same, are they?
Yeah, these sides aren't the same, right? But what I would then do, I would go one section, second section. Then I might do the first 5 sections on this side, the first 5 sections on this side, the second 5 sections, the second 5 sections.
Okay.
So I was slowly getting the person to the point where they could do one whole side, then the other whole side, right? Because that's mastery right there. And it's like when I cut a bob, when I cut a graduated bob, when I cut just about anything, when it's possible, I cut one whole side of the haircut and then the other.
Guys, if you think Julian's really making a difference for people's technical haircutting, please share the video. It's the only way that people are going to know this is happening. Hey, Alex. Alex just drops you.
We have to, support our harebrained, culture of sharing education.
Yeah, it's so great.
So, so good point from Randy. We need everybody's help on that one.
Alex is saying this is her favorite haircut, too.
Nice.
This is a lot of people's favorite.
Yeah. Just look at how light that graduation builds up, right? Just really light, no weight line at all. It has a nice build up, but it's not weighty looking. Now you can see I'm also, as I get to the back, I'm just about vertical. I still have a little bit of curve to the section, but it's just about vertical. And notice the section on both sides is clean, right? So if I don't take that clean section, I'm not sure that my guideline is going to be exactly what I want. Okay. Get that a little bit neater. And then working from that bottom, again, graduation. this was also a haircut that we would give somebody when they came with the attitude that they thought they were really good. Like, oh, good, okay. So you're a good hair cutter. We're going to do the inside out today. It would beat them up for about 2 hours and make them realize that, you know, we're all learning.
Aaron Williams is saying hello.
Hey, Aaron. All right, so this is going to be about my last section on this side. We used to say the same thing about the orbit, you know, it definitely separated the big kids from the little kids. Definitely a high level of concentration through the whole haircut. One of those ones that you're just continuously talking yourself through. Just want to make sure that blends all the way into that front. There we go. Having a pretty good day then. So we had a lot going on last week. I know Randy and Gerard were in the desert last week. We didn't get to shoot. Wayne was out there, and now Gerard's in Vegas, isn't he? Or no, he's back home, but he was
flew
just
to
in
Chicago
Vegas.
for a meeting today.
Okay. So he was in Vegas, now in Chicago, so there's been a lot going on. I was on set out here in LA doing a men's shoot for Mitch, which is a great product line I'm sure you guys know about. So I was with my Paul Mitchell family doing that, so we were all really busy, you know, but it's always good to get back to, you know, some calisthenics. Do the inside out for you. All right, so same sectioning on the other side. You know, again, it's much smaller because of the side parting, but I'll approach it the same way. Comb that down. Now what I want to do is, I want to take this here and just make sure that at the same point, right? Now, what I'm looking at and what I'm feeling for is this hair here, right? Because again, I'm at a higher point with the hair in the front, so it's not going to translate the same, but the hair at the ear, at the back of the ear, is what I want to check and balance it to. So this hair is the same as this hair here. So that's where I'm checking my balance, guys. I'm not trying to balance this because
that and the angle of the line?
And the angle of the line, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I work from that point out. Because if I tried to work from this point in, it's really hard because, again, these pieces are not going to be the same length, right?
Hey, Stephen. Stephen Adams just joined. He's
Nice,
there.
Stephen.
And Sherman Wong. And Sarah is loving that last point. She's like, that's, you know, such a brilliant point.
Yeah, so it's from here. And it works also because I'm cutting from the ear out. So it makes sense to get my guideline from this point.
And your elevation is starting low again?
Yeah, again, elevation, you know, I'm working that right. Just about a finger. I can feel the back of my knuckle just touching the corner of the jawline.
Okay.
And then take my section all the way through. Now here is another key, is to match it to the centerpiece in the back, right? So it has to match in the center here.
Okay.
So I'm not going to start there, but I'll work back towards it. Right from section number 2, the elevation starts to increase. Work that to the back of the ear.
Mary says the doll has beautiful eyes.
Oh, yeah, she's a looker. All right, so then I want to work that right into the first side here.
Yeah.
All right. So again, you know, I'll work this hairline up once I get the finish.
Yeah, you guys, Julian is the educator's educator. You know, he's not ever just saying anything that he doesn't know concretely. We're getting a lot of thank yous, and some of them are obviously educators.
Oh, come on, man. I just make this stuff up as I go along. No, I'm just kidding. I'm the educator of the educators because I've been doing it longer than y'all.
Yeah.
No, I got into education right away with Sassoon, which led me on to working with Paul Mitchell. You know, I did my apprenticeship in New York in 1990. And, you know, I mean, that era of Sassoon, I think Sassoon was just on fire, you know, in the salons. And, you know, it was the only place that you could go, right? At least in my eyes. And, you know, from there, it brought me to become a full-time educator at the Sassoon Academy in '94, where I met some amazing people, like Angus Mitchell, and then doing the trade shows and things, I met, you know, Robert and Stephanie and Scott and Linda and all of them, which is now who I do, you know, a lot of work with. I get the opportunity to work with those guys quite often.
Are you crossing over to the other side now?
Yeah, so just making sure that blends, right?
Yep.
So I want that to blend right into the other side. And again, I'm going to get just about to the curve of the head. So you can see the sections.
See your sections are starting to kind of move.
Yeah, the sections are starting to move into that flatter shape now. Maybe about one or two more.
Are you moving your client's head around as you're doing this?
Yeah, I'm constant. This is just exactly where I would have the client. If this was a live person, when I cut a doll head, guys, I do it the same as if I would cut a live person. I try always not to do anything different. You know, I see a lot of people like standing like this and cutting the doll head. I'm like, I would not be cutting my client like this. You know, so I'm going to do it as real as possible. Only because, you know, you perform as you practice. So if you practice with a bad habit, that's the way you're going to perform it. You know, so everything's, you know, pretty legit to what I would do in the salon. And the reason I push the head away from me is so that it's easier to get the elevation, right? So if we look at this elevation, where I'm at, okay? So I'm going to try to do this without moving my hand. I'm going to loosen that up. Now look where I am. It's going to be really hard for me to cut like this.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm not going to be able to get the elevation correctly. I'm going to end up either going too low or too high, or turning my wrist, which is another bad habit. I don't want to cut this way. I want to cut with my wrist straight, palm facing the client. So it's just easy to tilt the head. You know, you always have to be sensitive to the client as well. You know, I've had clients that, you know, had stiff necks, and you got to do what you got to do. Or have had neck surgeries and things like that. But for the most part, you know, the majority of your clientele isn't going to mind just tilting their head a little bit. Actually, just like a nice little stretch. You know, it feels good. And if you gently push them into it, you know, it is a little bit of a, you know, stretch on it. And, you know, I think a lot of times if done right, it can feel good. Right, so you can see that blending in. Right.
Awesome.
Now, I think one more. Now, here's a little trick, guys. If you go one section too high before you transfer into the vertical sections, it's not a big deal, right? But if you transfer into the vertical sections one section early, well, now you're going to layer it too much because your guideline is going to be too short, right? So I would always, you know, you can lean towards going a little bit further with the flatter section.
The worst case is you have to go back and just adjust a little bit, but you have some hair to work with.
Yeah, and I'm going to show you what I would do, because you would adjust it even before you move on. All right, so following this around.
So I notice your feet are moving constantly.
Always. Yeah, my body position is constantly moving so that I'm standing with my chest facing exactly where I'm cutting. So if I'm cutting here, my chest is facing, my sternum is facing the angle. the line of what I'm going to cut. So it's like there's an imaginary straight line from here to here, right? So as I'm working around, if I put my hand at the right angle, guys, so I get my hand at the right angle, right? And then if I just walk, there's my graduation. I don't need to move my arm at all. I just move my feet.
Great. Francesco says, "Ciao, Julian. Great job. Motafini."
Thank you, Francesco.
He threw into Canada there.
All right, so now going more vertical. Still a little bit of an angle. Get a clean guideline.
So this is another spot where it wouldn't be helpful to have your thumb jammed all the way through your scissors,
Oh,
right?
God, no.
Yeah.
No,
Your wrist would just be tortured.
Yeah, it just takes away all your mobility, right? So this here, I mean, you can see how I'm holding it. If my thumb was in there, I'd have to go that high,
Yeah.
right? So because
So
I can...
people who have trouble with this hand position, that might be the issue, or one of them. Yeah.
It's like, it's the crane approach.
Yeah.
If you watch old kung fu movies. If you looked at my Instagram, I just posted Bruce Lee last night on my Instagram. It was awesome.
Nice.
He was talking about fighting, and I'm comparing it to hair cutting. You got to see it and listen.
Stacy's asking, so at the round of the head, go more vertical?
Yeah, exactly, Stacy. So again, it started out vertical. So I'll do it with my comb so it's easier. So it started out vertical, went to flat, back to vertical.
Okay.
Right. And
Thanks everybody for sharing the video. It's really helpful.
Oh, good, excellent. Yeah. Getting a lot of shares out there.
Yeah.
And the transitions work.
So you lock the section and then move it to a comfortable cutting line.
Yeah, and I hear people talk about that, and it's never affected me. I'm not going to say...
I imagine you've done it both ways, and so if you're doing it this way, you know it works.
Yeah. Once I lock that in with my fingers, I mean, it doesn't matter if I move it.
So you just want to comb it really clean,
get your fingers locked in,
even tension, and then you can
cut it. Yeah. Now I can understand why people may say that's not a good habit, because in the beginning of your cutting, you might move it and then the hair might shift. But once you have control, I mean, if you have control of the hair, and you have a little bit of experience, you should be able to do that no problem.
How would this cut look if you curled it? Somebody's asking.
Oh no, this is great on curly hair, guys.
But you won't be curling this, just to be clear.
Oh no.
But it would work well.
Yeah, like if I was doing this on someone with naturally curly hair, this is absolutely a beautiful approach, a beautiful way to cut the graduated bob on someone with curly hair, because it is so much rounder and lighter, where the traditional buildup of weight, can a lot of times look too heavy.
Another question about what scissors you prefer.
Yeah, I cut with B-Max, guys. These are...
that was from Francesco.
Okay, cool. These are the ones that have been made specifically for hairbrained, but they're made by B-Mac, special mold for hairbrained.
Scarpacci just joined.
Oh, nice. But as I was going to say, Gerard and I are very similar in our scissor preferences. Just really simple design. I mean, you think about it, what else do you need? Nothing, right? You need, two pieces of beautiful steel connected together with a screw that are sharp on one end and have holes on the other. Right? Don't tell scissor companies that, because they like to sell fancy scissors. All right, so just getting to be about...
Stacy said that her synapses are popping.
So just starting to get to about the other side. All right, so take that section clean on both sides. Make sure to see my guideline really crisp.
Hey, G. Gerard's giving me a...
How's Chicago, Mr. Gerard?
He must be at the airport by now.
Okay.
I'm not sure. You at the airport, G?
Gerard and I just had a really successful class here in LA, scissor versus razor. Scissor won. It's not a competition, it's a comparison, but I just had to put that out there. And we're doing another one in Houston in August at a really good friend of mine's salon, Rosie Matos. And
Rosie's awesome.
Oh yeah, you know, and have some great friends out there that we're going to get to hang out with, and it should be, you know, again, another amazing class. That's going to be towards the end of August, but if you go on to, you know, the Hairbrained, it's on the Pro Shop, right?
Yep.
Yep. You can find out the information.
It's also on the events and education.
Yeah, if you go to my Instagram at Julian Pearl, I have it linked right to it, so you can just go on there and hit it. It'll take you right to it and give you all the information on the class. But, you know, definitely excited. Go out there and see my good friend David Lowry, who was just with Gerard not too long ago doing an event.
So now your sections are headed more vertically?
Yep. And now what I'm going to do is, so now I'm going to cross over and make sure it blends into the other side. Cool. Right? So just like, guys, all right, so I can't remember who asked about, is this triangular, is it round, is it square, right? The graduated bob is a pure triangle. The firefly is pure round graduation. The firefly is what teaches you the crossover system to get the roundness in the back. If you want fluidity, when you're doing the right side, you cross over to the left. When you're doing the left side, you cross over to the right. What that does is it blends out any weight that's in between the two. So, you know, I'm not just going to stop, oh, I already cut this side. What I'm going to do is I'm going to carry through just to make sure, again, it gets a clean blend. Now, with that, I mean...
Thanks for sharing the video, everybody. Lots of shares.
You know, with that, you shouldn't be cutting. If you go on to the other side and you're cutting mountains of hair off, there's something wrong. You know, maybe your balance wasn't on. But, you know, you can see just through here, you know, just that little bit of weight, right? Just that little bit of weight through this side. What I'll do is I'll round that off and pick that up. So now, again, crossing over.
How does bone structure affect this haircut?
Well, I mean, head shape, definitely. The roundness of the occipital in the back will play an effect on the graduation. Sometimes, you know, if the head is quite flat here, you do need to get the graduation a little bit lighter to give a little bit of root lift, where if the graduation sits low and the crown is flat, you know, you can get this looking like it's pushed in and the bottom too wide, right? Okay. When Mark did it, he balanced it off the cheekbones. I went more to the jawline just because of the doll head with the low hairline. But I think, you know, suitability, you know, we have to account for, you know, the features, the head shape, and try to, like Vidal said, ultimately, you know, we're trying to enhance the anatomy to make the person look better, right? So, you know, we want to put our lines and put our weight in places that's going to help make the bone structure more symmetrically sound.
Your Instagram handle one more time.
At Julian, Julian, Perl. So just blend in that graduation. And now from this point...
The Croatians are in.
Ah, the Croatians
Matthew.
are with us. Nice.
How's it going, Matthew? I'm starting to get worried.
Well, you know, we are a little bit late today.
Yeah.
We're a couple hours later. We try to hit it each time at around 11. We had to start a little bit late today. Busy schedules. All right. So now the hairline in the back. Let me spin around this way. What I want to do is I'm just going to pick this hairline up a little bit. And again, I mean, if my client had a low hairline, I would do this. But, you know, the doll head, the hairline's just quite low. So I'm going to condense the shape a little bit.
Sandra's just graduated from Paul Mitchell. Sandra Lynn Bruno Soderquist.
Oh, nice. Congratulations.
And she's taking boards next on July 20th.
Awesome.
Good luck, Sarah.
Yeah. That's always an exciting time.
Oh, Matthew was shooting. That's why he's late.
Ah, see, we're all busy, huh?
Yeah. Oh, it's so rad. Somebody's sending a bunch of flags up. Their state flag.
Ah, nice.
Let's go on in there. You can do that.
All right.
I hope this shoot went well, Matthew.
I'm sure it did.
Shannon said she's in a comfy chair watching the video from beginning to end.
Nice. Just got marula oil all over my phone.
That's good for the phone.
Yeah, and then make it nice and shiny. It'll clean my screen.
Hey, Steve Kim.
Hey, Steve, how's it going, man? Hope all is good. Yeah. I'm kind of enjoying it without the blow dry. You know,
yeah, it's really good.
Just liking it kind of expanded looking. What I put in it was marula oil, which is a great product to add shine, control the hair a little bit.
We'll look for that video, Matthew. He said they were doing a video shoot his wife filmed.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So I think you can see the graduation. You know, that's why I like it expanded a little bit, because you can see the graduation really easily and the lightness of it. You can also see, you know, the shape is slightly more triangular, so it works down towards the front. Not bad.
Yeah, lots of compliments and...
Yeah, I mean, I'm into hair a little bit kind of disheveled right now.
Yeah.
You know, I know we see all this stuff, you know, like glass, make it polished, make it look like it's a helmet.
Yeah.
You know, just something a little bit looser I'm into.
This is more accessible. A lot of people are going to...
Yeah, a little bit of natural kind of, natural movement, natural texture. Friendly frizz.
Yeah.
So... all right, well, there it is. So the inside out. Just give her a little spin here so you can see the whole shape. Again, based off of the Sassoon Contemporary Classic cut by Mark Hayes. You know, so you get the feeling of a graduated bob, much lighter, a little bit more rounded through. Beautiful approach to hair. Definitely, if you didn't catch the whole video, you know, catch the whole video because it's a really, you know, fan favorite, you know, from the Contemporary Classics, and I think, you know, you'll have fun with it, and definitely try it out on some of your clients.
Cool. Love it.
Thanks, guys.